not in the district.
Hey, Stephen, we can rock and roll.
Well, okay. Greg, you got it.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the community briefing. My name is Greg Sneed, and along with Crystal and Stephen Turner and our other co-host, Robin Billups, who hasn't joined us yet, but we hope to see her very soon. We welcome you today. Today we have our guest, Denise Peoples, and she will be sharing us with some information. A little bit about me, and then I'll have Crystal and Stephen chime in. I am a financial coach and financial literacy trainer. I've been in the financial field for quite a long time, and I help people feel better about their money, because when you feel better about your money, you feel better about life. And the goal is to be intentional with your money, because if you're not intentional with your money, you're going to be giving it to someone who is.
Absolutely.
So if you'd like help with that, I will put some information in the chat, and love for us to connect so that you can be reacquainted and become good friends with your money. Crystal.
Okay, welcome everyone. Glad to have you on the community business briefing, or community briefing, now that we're calling it that. The purpose of this platform is to inform and inspire and really help our businesses to thrive. It was an idea that came to me at the early part of the pandemic, and I knew that we usually get the information after everything has already come and gone. And I wanted to make sure that we had access to whatever resources, capital resources that were going to be available for our community. And as it's turned out, we have brought some amazing leaders and stakeholders and movers and shakers from our community that are here to share with you what is actually going on. And so, to the contrary, that Black folks don't have stuff going on, we have disproven that. And so we are happy to have you. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, as well as I run my own business called Mitchell Business Solutions, and I specialize in helping small businesses with tools and resources to help them, and mentorship to help them grow their business. Excuse me. I am the talk show host of the co-host of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, that broadcasts live every Friday afternoon at 3:00, as well as the community briefing. And I just added another media project to my platform, and it's called Conversations on the Patio. And we talk about how to retire, how to plan for your retirement, which is very important for those of us that are entrepreneurial, because we never think about that. So that's who I am, and I want to welcome everyone. We have a fantastic guest here. Our other moderator, Ms. Robin Billups, is not here, but you guys, if you know her, she's a powerhouse, and I'm sure she'll be here. And then our fourth teammate is Mr. Stephen Turner, and I imagine he's going to introduce himself at the end of the show. He wants to close the show with the Stephen Turner. So welcome to everyone. My good buddy Amari is here, and Emma and Ardina and all of you guys. Thank you for coming out and supporting us, and as well as Miss Denise Peoples. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greg, and he's going to introduce Denise, and we will move forward.
Drum roll, please. Okay. So today we are pleased to have Miss Denise Peoples. She is the Chief Educational Officer of STEMulate Learnings, whose mission is to promote and develop the love of math as the foundation for student success in STEM and STEAM related fields. Denise has extensive experience in training and instructional curriculum that is not only unique, but also inquiry-based. Culturally relevant and life-affirming, that helps transform educators into effective instructors and facilitators of learning, while empowering students to overcome a fear of math and develop the mathematician within them. Prior to opening STEMulate Learning, Denise owned a highly successful executive search firm, placing engineers and other technology people in STEM careers all over the country. She attended UCLA School of Management and also Cal State University Fullerton. So interesting thing, I was just seeing a talk about UCLA. It was a bunch of guys in Harlem, and they said they went from the university of the corner of Lenox Avenue.
You know what I'm saying? And know just as much, right?
Exactly.
That corner is pretty popular.
So please join me in welcoming to the community briefing, Denise Peoples.
Welcome. Denise, can we just hold on 1 second and let Robin quickly introduce herself?
Absolutely.
Hey, I didn't see her pop in there. Hey, Robin, welcome.
Popped in.
Hey guys, I'm sorry I'm a little late. I was on a panel with with City National Bank talking about sports diversity and inclusion. But it's Robin Billups with the Billups Group. Always happy to be here. I love this hour every week because the mission is to impart information that you can go leave here and deploy. And we have a great speaker for you today. And I'm excited, so I'm just gonna get quiet and listen till we come to the question part.
Thank you, Denise. Go ahead, take it away.
Well, what do you guys want to know? I think it's a pretty exciting day to be working with children, especially since the pandemic, and really finding out. And I think the most interesting thing for me, you guys, is to see how brilliant our children are. Our primary focal is 3rd through 12th grade, helping mostly children of color find their love of math in the most impoverished and challenging communities throughout Southern California, and we do work in a few other states. And I think for me, it's just seeing the brilliance in them and never underestimating the power of Google. And when they say Generation Z, I say it's a generation of Google, because children are much smarter than we give them credit for. And through this journey of understanding, I'm seeing them really wake up to math and understand that if it's taught in a way that's culturally relevant and connects for them, then they soar. And Amari's here, he's one of my beautiful consultants, so I know he concurs with what I'm saying. And that's what we do every day. And we also provide instructional coaching to teachers to teach them how to lean in and be more culturally relevant. You mentioned, Greg, the inquiry-based instruction. Gone is the days of the dinosaurs where teachers stand at the front on a chalkboard, or either today uploading worksheets and just killing kids by death of worksheets. We think they should be grouping. We think we're already into the future. We need to catch up with the kids. They're the people that we have to inspire. It's all about them and their growth and finding their love of math. So everything we do is inquiry-based, a lot more questioning, a lot less talking. So we really reduce the teacher talk time and let the children explore. And it's absolutely beautiful.
That's awesome. So, today when we talk about our kids, and they talk about in the tech world that our kids that we're not represented, is that one of the goals is to make sure that our kids are grasping the future and future opportunities for themselves?
Crystal, that's a great question. Math is the game changer. Math is the foundational learning for every STEM career. And in my 33 years in the staffing industry, although I'm only 25, I don't know how I did that, what I learned is that there was an inclusion. And that, we already as a culture have gatekeeping systems already. It was just one more thing to keep us out. And as I decided to move and venture into new areas, Pat Click, who's on the phone, was my inspiration. She said, Denise, I told her, I said, I really have to do something purposeful and I want to help. And she said, you ought to think about STEM. I think you might do really well. And I said, what am I going to do in STEM? And the reality was, it was like this, just the universe opened up and said, well, math is a game changer. You couldn't find people. I was hiring on H-1B visas from China and India to get talent here. It just wasn't here. And I thought, and especially for our demographic. So I said, that's a good idea. And I honestly, within a week, opened up an LLC. But us serial entrepreneurs, that's what we do. And from there, I never turned back. And it became my sole mission and purpose is to teach 1 million children, especially of color, math, so that they can have that inclusion, have that pathway, and have those options. And demystify the fact that you have to be a rapper, a rock star, an athlete, to compete and earn salaries doing what you love. And so that's really where my time has been spent.
Denise, talk about the program. Talk about how give us a good overview of how the program unfolds. Have been some of your success stories?
The biggest success I think we have, thank you, Robin, is when we collaborate with both the teachers, because 80% of teachers in the United States are white women. And many times they come to our communities, Robin, to get practice. Many times they're brand new instructors. And the data says that teachers that come into the game don't get good until the third to fifth year of teaching. So what do you think that happens in marginalized communities? What do you think we get? We get them to play around and have fun with us and make lots of mistakes before our children get to see the best. I'm seeing that in even many of our communities, we don't even have the same Wi-Fi capabilities. Our children are constantly disconnecting from the calls, sharing one resources and sometimes one bedroom houses with many people living there. I think we honestly sometimes forget that the data shows that some of the meals that they get is one meal a day, and that was a meal that the school provided. And I think when we can put ourselves in those places, we have to put our teachers in those places. And many times, Stimulate Learning likes to take them through the neighborhoods where they serve, because they might serve off Martin Luther King in Maine, but they've never walked around the corner. We've asked them to get to know the people and the culture. Have you seen the local bodegas? Have you seen the liquor stores? We call them liquor stores. Have you watched what the children eat and where they play and what they like to do? Because when you can connect at that level, you can really lean in and understand some of the disadvantages that we have, but you can turn them into advantages. And that's where the culturally relevant piece comes in, Robin. So we really provide culturally relevant pedagogy that relates to our children. And we play games with them, and we use lots of music and connectors. If anybody knows algebra, we'll take a basketball and turn it into a parabola problem, because we want the children to know that math is a part of our lives. Greg talked about financial literacy. We started adding financial literacy into our programs, even if it's algebra, because we need our children to be self-sufficient. And so to answer that question, that tandem approach creates results. At JW North High School in Riverside, we were able to raise math scores in African Americans by 27% in 1 year, who were at a staggering low of 6% across the nation. We took their scores from 6% to 33% year one by having an aggressive approach and a principal that believed that we could take an aggressive stance with their teachers, and they were ready to lean in and make changes. And when we did that and brought the students back together with them, the students felt more empowered. They felt their voice was heard and that equity was present. No longer did we only look at one half of the room that typically doesn't look like us. We were looking at the whole room and understanding that equity and voice is important. And we raised those scores, and I'm very proud of that.
So would you say basically that in our schools, I know just because I work with kids as well, I teach them how to become entrepreneurs, and I understand and I see where they struggle when we get to the financials, and these are basic financials. These are just really adding and subtracting and that kind of stuff. We're not even talking high level math skills, and they just don't have them. So what has happened in the school system? I know they have this, whatever that's called, new math. and I've seen new math work, and it's like so convoluted that even as an adult, you really have a struggle trying to figure out what it is that they're asking. So where has the breakdown taken place?
Well, first of all, by removing it from California schools. I think that it's absolutely ridiculous. I work with a client in Georgia, and she couldn't believe that we removed that component of education. First of all, if you guys know anything about the math books from Japan, they're about 8 by 5. And I said 8 inches by 5 inches. And they're not very thick. And what we learned is that when you focus on 20% of algebra problems, they solve 80% of math problems. Why are we giving them those big books that are convoluted that the teachers don't even look at themselves, nor do they sometimes even plan lessons in advance? So what we're saying is, let's really get down to what matters, that 20% that solves 80% of those problems, and let's infuse, using slopes, we can talk about financial matters. Using the parabola, we were able to demonstrate numbers and math and basics of how you manage money. I just think that it's absolutely essential that math is a part of everything we do. Every day that we wake up, we're doing some form of math. And if we don't take this time to embed this into our children, which is often not seen in our communities, it's a big disadvantage. So the fact that they moved it out is not going to stop us from continuing to infiltrate in our school districts.
When you say, you have a broad range from 3rd grade to 12th grade. So let's talk about maybe, what is it, 3 to the 3rd grade, 5th grade, then it's 6th grade through 8th grade. Can you kind of give us a little tidbit for each one of those slices or silos of students? Because again, I think, my personal opinion, I could care less about what happened historically. I could care
Absolutely.
less. And these kids, they don't care. What they want to know is, what can you teach me now that I can use now, that I can move forward with? Along with the fact that if we teach them properly, then they can teach their families. It's not just them that's learning, it's everyone in their family that's going to benefit from that. So can you speak to that a little bit?
And so, Robin, to start with, first of all, it takes a village and it takes a triadic approach. Parents need to be involved, teachers need to be involved, and the students. And as far as I'm concerned, the administrators. But I am going to say that there is some richness in the historical perspectives of African Americans. So we do infuse a lot of ethnomathematics. And believe it or not, when we speak to the rich cultures of our ancestors, it provides not only history that they're never going to get in public schools, not our history. And it also infuses mathematics, and mathematics is seriously intertwined, as we are the beginning of numbers. And so with that said, it's quite contrary in that way when you make it relevant again, and you're bringing the Afrocentric perspectives of math into it. The children light up like a Christmas tree, especially from the 6th grade level to the 12th grade level. And I would even venture to say when we play with our 3rd graders, and I say play intentionally, because I feel like every day that we go into their classrooms, we're playing the game of life, and we make it fun and engaging, infusing those ethno-historical perspectives. And when you do that, you ignite learning. And then we play games in addition to that intertwine both. So it's the richness of history that we don't get. When we put that into the math, the children just find that they have more ownership. We take intervention classes, and everybody hires me for tutoring and intervention. And I lean in and I say, with all due respect, I'm so excited to work for the Pasadena School District. We just closed a summer school for them. And that was one of my biggest, most exciting things that's happened since I've opened. And they said, we want you for intervention and tutoring purposes. And I said, with all due respect, can we please change that name? Because intervention in my communities has a negative connotation. Intervention was always looked at as the disruptive kids, or the bad kids, or the kids that are just can't learn. And who do you think that demographic belonged to? Mostly our African-American males. And so I said, with all due respect, can we give it an empowering title? And can we call my programs Math Accelerated Programs? And then some people said, well, Denise, they're not gonna go, they're gonna think they have to be super smart to be in your Math Accelerated programs. And I said, can we just title it that, please? When you see the kids, I changed it about 3 months ago, and we onboarded a few different programs. You should see how the children pop tall when they walk in our classrooms. It's a whole different swag. They're looking different, talking different, and they begin to explore math in a different way just from the paradigm shift. And so when I say I will not remove that name, I've not had one person turn me down. We have 4 programs going now that are Math Accelerated. And when my babies walk in that room, they're smiling and they're proud. And then really, they step their game up to another level you can't even imagine. When you believe, they will achieve. And I'm not joking.
Well, that's that for us, that's the legacy and the resilience of Black people in general, right? And so when I said, I could care less about the history, I'm talking about the system. I'm talking about, I'm talking about.
Come on, I knew that's what you must have been talking about.
And I don't like to spend a lot of time and energy on something that was ugly and won't get fixed. So my mission is. Yeah, so the mission is here to understand, just give us some examples of like what you did with a 3rd grader, or what you did with a 6th grader, or what you did with a 12th grader. And especially, let me back up. especially my 10th graders, because but to me, by 10th grade, ought to be prepared for where you're going on your career trajectory, you know?
Gosh, that's such a deep question. When you talk about systems, gosh, Amari and I had a good old debate on that one. Well, I think I lost. Did I lose, Amari? Don't say nothing right now. You're not in this call.
So
That's
you don't
my
want to hear
brother
the
from
truth.
another mother.
Okay.
And systems
I won't tell
exist.
the truth.
He won't, but this brother we just really went, you know, it really, we were on the same page. It's just something greater than us. And we were talking about systems, and I talk about breaking down systems and disrupting them. I'm a disruptive person. I'm a person that doesn't believe that there has to be glass ceilings, only the ones that we create. We've got to get around them, get under them. It's kind of like a song, I think I know. It's a good old soul song. But at the end of the way, I believe that I'm a disruptive organization. When I go in and I talk to companies that want to hire me, I said, I want you to know I'm not conservative and we don't play with math. I said, I am a disruptor. And I said, we disrupt systems, not the ecosystem. We want to help that one, but we are defined and gate kept forever around systems, from incarceration to anything else. Robin and I can go as deep as you want to go, but it's about breaking those chains. And everything I do, I actually walk administrators through that struggle and give them that visual that we experience and talk to them about systems. And I talk to the kids about systems. Amari talks to the kids about systems. We teach in some of the roughest places. Amari, got to tell this story, bro, because you were part of this, man. Put me in tears. He was teaching, and we teach at Riverside County Office of Education. And normally Denise does a site visit to look at all of her facilities and ensure that my consultants are my clients. So I have to take care of them. Well, Amari goes, one day we're just rolling along, and I think it had been about 3 or 4 months, Amari, that you had been teaching incarcerated students at Riverside County who some have shackles around their legs. I hadn't done a walkthrough. I hadn't done enough due diligence, and I kicked myself every day for that. You know why this brother didn't tell me? He was so pleased to be leaning in with those students, some of which he told me were 16 years old. They would be at 18 years old going to life in prison. And he never quit on them. He told us, he said, guys, I'm hitting a wall. He said, how do I inspire a child who made a mistake? Some of them 14 years old, Robin, who's going to age out and go to life in prison that look like us. And he said, and I can't give up. And I said, you won't give up. And I'm sorry that I wasn't aware of where you were at. He was like, maybe you didn't need to know. That's how me and Amari talked to each other.
Right.
Maybe you didn't need to know, because I understood those children. And it brought tears to my eye to know that those kids came to see him, and they learned about life, and they learned about, yes, we can't change your trajectory of the system, but we can give you something. We'll meet you wherever you are. And whatever they wanted to talk about, Amari was ready to lean in. And that's why I love my brother from another mother. Thank you, baby.
And I think it's so important when we get to the children who we think are, or who society has decided are throwaways, that it is our responsibility as educators and trainers to really step in. I had a similar situation like that at Dorsey High. We took in the entrepreneurial program to the kids, 9th and 10th graders at Dorsey. And it was like, when I walked in the room, the kids were jumping off the ceilings and calling each other all kinds of names. And within 5 minutes, I was like, oh, nope, we're not having this. And so my partner at the time is like, oh, I don't know, we're used to a different caliber of kids, so we need to walk away. And no, we don't need to walk away. This is where we have to stay. So when by the end of the class, I had those kids, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And I told them, I don't want to hear language that you wouldn't use with your priest or your pastor and your grandmother. And I will not tolerate that. And you guys are going, and they embraced it. And I brought in some of my mentors, and that's what needs to happen. We have to bring our people. I brought my mentors. I had a mentee that had just come had been out of prison, had been in there for 25 years. He came in, I told him, be real with them. Let them know that prison is not a picnic. And he told them what he felt from his heart. Just told him to keep the cursing out, because I had just controlled that. But I needed them to hear it. I had another friend that had saw a young man shot in front of him. He told the truth. And when we got done, we have 15 children that were sitting there at attention and expressing themselves and happy to be able to say, I want to be my own boss. I want to be somebody when I grow up. And that's what it requires. And I think what you're doing, Denise, is awesome. And if we can start them at an early age, embracing and loving math and science and the things that are future, that's where we need to be. And so, so your program is it voluntary, or are you in other schools, or how do our kids get to you guys?
Eventually, my ultimate goal is to build a center in the heart of South Central Los Angeles where all resources are free, and I'm hell-bent and determined on doing it. With that said, though, I have to go back. I want to rewind, Crystal. You said some powerful things, and I call us the kid whisperers because certain people do have the ability to walk in and command that respect. But I want to talk about disruption for a moment because oftentimes we're also labeled that way in the system, Robin. We're labeled as disruptive people because we're precocious, inquisitive, and smart. And many times as white teachers institutionalize us by labeling us with those names. So Crystal, I know what you meant. You were just bringing it down to a level, but we do want to hear children's voice. I do want to hear children laughing in class. I do want to hear children talking in class as long as it's productive. And so I know you feel the same way. And I wanted to say that because that's a word that comes up so much as labels for African-American children. And it really is an angst for us. So I know the way that you meant it. You went in and you brought structure to that classroom to then hear student voice. But oftentimes, white instructors label African-Americans as disruptive constantly. And then I want to say one thing that's super important to me that I just learned yesterday. I have a client in South Carolina, and please, I'll come back to this, but this is really important for you guys to hear. And Robin, you started the systems conversation. I can't get off of it. There's so much you guys don't know. They did armed shooter training in South Carolina, one of my clients' facilities. And it was an all-white group that came in and did this particular training. And to make a long story short, they came in and they were reenacting it. And what my African-American administrator realized as she sat back and told me just 2 days ago, she said, it's so crazy because a lot of our white teachers were saying, now they understand why some of the kids in our classrooms act just like they were in an armed shooting situation. They always watching their backs, low trust levels. And she said, oh my goodness, they come from some of the roughest neighborhoods here in Carolina. And she said, they already have the PTSD. Now we want them to do math. We want them to open that frontal cortex and we can't even get through the fear. And I think it's important that you understand all of the things that surround these communities. Crystal, like what you said about that shooting, that little young child has to bring that with them every day and always watch his back. And I think there's so much more to math. So we spend so much more with social emotional learning competencies. We do community circles where we get the kids to get to know each other. We create tribal communing activities, because until we get them to lighten up and loosen that fear, they can't learn math. Straight neck up. We got to get to the heart of the matter. And the heart is dispelling that they're not in a safe place, that they are in a system, but they're with us at that time. And we do a lot of work in that area. So it's really a lot of trauma-informed instruction. I've been spending a lot more time in those areas because what I can do, Crystal, after we command that class, is I can now get them that trust so much faster. And when they trust us and they know that we provide safe environments, sky's the limit for those kids because all children are smart.
Yes, they are. All children are smart, and it just needs that extra touch. And like I said, I've worked with kids most of my adult life. And even, when we talk about systems, even not being able to, in the LA Unified or other systems, the kids, you can't touch them. So there's just this standoff. They do have young white kids that come into our communities to teach, and they're primarily there so that they can get their school loans expunged, paid off. They there for 5 years, and after that, they're gone. When I went into this one classroom, and I'm sure, Denise, you've seen this, I had this young teacher. He wanted to be a dancer. He didn't even want to be a teacher, but he was there teaching science.
All day, every day.
Yeah, he was there doing that. And so what he was doing was giving ninth graders candy to calm them down. Like, you do realize that's an adverse reaction, right? No, you don't give a ninth grader candy. They're not in kindergarten.
Come on, Crystal, preach. I see it every day.
And so this is what our children are going through. And this is why there are many parents and grandparents on this call today. You're struggling, and then your next choice is homeschooling because you figure your children are not getting. And I'm going to tell you, the best thing probably could have happened, this is my COVID silver lining, is that now you can watch what the teacher is doing by just standing in the back of the room and seeing whether or not they're interacting with your children doing homeschool, this home or e-learning.
Break it down.
And you're seeing, and if you're connected, you're seeing things, and you understand why your children are not being educated. Because the people are not that interested in doing that. They're interested in getting that 5 years in, get their school loans off, and then they're out of the teaching game, period.
We actually provide our instructional coaches when we watch teachers teach. We do sit just where you said. We actually have, and Amari mastered this particular, we have a schematic of the room. We create schematics of the room and we watch the teachers flow. We even clock their talk time. So many of the teachers talk about 60% of the time, and the students are just forced to listen. Death by worksheets, as I mentioned. In this particular schematic, we watch them for a period of time and then we show it to them and we say, Ms. Johnson, did you recognize that you were spending 70% of your time with 3 students on the left-hand side of the room? The data doesn't lie, bam, it's in your face. And who do you think those students are typically? They're not of our persuasion. And they're the ones that are more so inclined to that particular type of learning. And you guys, to be honest with you, there's so many different types. When you look at the VARC model, there are people that are visual learners, auditory learners, reading learners, and kinesthetic, and I recognize that math was a struggle for me as a child because I'm a kinesthetic learner. So death by chalkboards when I was young, that chalk going in the teacher. And then what happens is they get inspired by 2 or 3 students that are inclined to math and they start going faster and faster and faster. And what do you think happens to the kids that don't have that comprehension? So we spend a lot of time working with teachers to say, did you know, did you wonder, what have you noticed and wondered? And how can we change your practice to provide that inclusion and equity of voice for children? We're big on equity. We come down hard on the equity piece. All children's voices need to be heard.
Right.
Question. This is such an important topic. I didn't even know this was the topic today, Crystal. I just happened to log in. So what's your thoughts on, Denise, the whole IEP system? My son is at a very small school. He's been there since 2nd grade, and they taught themselves on their scores, on all of their scores from ELA to MAP. They've won awards and things of that nature. So they're very score driven. So because he didn't start in kinder, a teacher pulled me to the side in 5th grade, maybe 2 years ago, and said he needed an IEP in math because they noticed that his scoring, he did not meet the scoring that they wanted him to meet. So that's how he got put on in the last 2 years. The teacher's Asian. She's going to be the 7th and 8th grade. I communicate with her 24/7. He stayed at a C since we've been home, since he's been in the last 2 years. And she sends me emails and one day said to me, thank you for caring about Justin, because apparently a lot of parents are not contacting.
So Ms. Lawson, I would tell you that that's the system. The system is designed for us to fail because we put so much, on test scores and labels.
And they call
we're
it
often
intervention.
mislabeled. Yeah. Oh, come on, sister. So Ms. Lawson, you're saying so many meaty things. It's almost like I can't even stop. Like, first of all,
recently she said to me, well, because she knows I'm not happy with the C because C's are just average. Well, maybe he doesn't like math. And so I'm meeting with her today at 2 o'clock in the principal, but I haven't heard what they've done to measure. And that's what they just want me to sign the paperwork and move it on.
Absolutely not.
If he's going to continue, I could see that.
Fight the power right. And don't. And so that's, let's say with IEPs, and for those that don't know, there are people that, requires planning because they have special needs, or so they say. Many times our children that are hyper, especially in the African-American community, our young men of color get put into SPED classes. SPED is what's the acronym? I can't even think. I can't even think right now. It's special education for children that have different conditions, and they have IEPs are their plans to basically educate them through those disabilities. And I know all the acronyms, and we have a million of them in education. You get what I'm talking about for those that aren't. And oftentimes our children are labeled and put in those programs that they don't belong in. So that's number one.
I didn't want him labeled. Yes.
No, and he shouldn't be, especially because he may not require a label. It's really a lot of mislabeling, and there's a lot of people that are put in those interventions. And you guys, we are giving grades by scores for the state of California specifically. The standardized testing. The standardized testing, and I think the reason Stimulate Learning is so popular today is because most of my instructors are African-American male instructors, mathematicians. I find them all over the world, and females, and they hire us because we skew the score. See, because we're in the 6% percentile, we're in the 10th percentile, we're messing up the state of California. So, hey, let's get this Black company in there to help us, because, we got to get it's not because they really care, remember the system, we're talking about a system. Hey, but I'll get in there any way I can. Thank you, Jesus. And I'll get in there to teach those kids. So you can keep hiring me for those reasons. And that's really the reason of our popularity, is because it's really not about us. But we're making it about us, right, Crystal? We're going to make it about us. So yes, you go there and fight the power today, and you don't sign anything unless you feel you need to. And let them stop mislabeling our children that are not SPED.
Emily Owens wants to know, do you work with people who have special needs or mental struggles for those kids, or is there programs out there for that?
There are programs. I don't have names today. And Amari, if you do, please let me know. But I will say there are, and they're not all great. We work with mild IEPs. And what I mean by that is they may, anything that wouldn't create a complete disruption to the class, I will let people sit in as long as I can. I've had my instructors call and tell me, Denise, we have to get this young man out the class. He's just disrupting the class. And I said, well, what is he doing? Every now and then he'll just hit a button on the thing, or he'll type in the chat room. Shut the chat down for him. Don't remove that child. That's something we can work with. Can you give him a few more weeks? It's different things and conditions that I can't, and I don't label people. First of all, if you come to me and say, I think this person has ADD. I think this person has, I said, are you a doctor? Do you really know? I said, let's really rescind giving people labels, and let's meet them where they are. So yes, we work with mild IEPs as long as the condition. We've had children where they've cried out loud on the phone the entire hour of instruction. That's a little bit beyond our scope of work. We've even tried to bring that person to a breakout room and to a quiet place, but we don't quit, Crystal, unless we just cannot move them.
Exactly. Greg, you had a question?
What is the structure or solution for smart kids with stupid parents?
Oh, wow. That's putting it there. Hey, and you know what I would, typically smart kids come from smart parents. The parents either lack the resources or the fundamental establishment in which they were brought up in adversely affected their ability to get educated. Trauma is something that can make you stupid. Trauma is something that can be, just mental incrimination. And I think so many times we think of, and I know what you meant by the word. We're not saying stupid. I know exactly what you were saying, Greg, and I like the way you said it. And I think that smart people produce smart children and maybe change their circumstances to see their children get a better life. Because as I explore with young African-American children, I have yet to meet one that isn't smart. So I would venture to say that those parents that weren't educated didn't have a parent like mine. My mom had books, encyclopedias, African-American historical books in our hands. I was reading, I think me and my brothers were reading really early. She had that math cube. So I was doing my 12 times, and I remember sitting in the back seat making songs to it. And then we had conjunction, junction. It's it takes a village, and not everybody has parents like ours. And so I love seeing that. And then also we create parent programs. We've done some really magnificent parent programs where we bring the teachers in, the parents in to teach them a little bit more about math so they can support their children. We have several different programs. That one just hasn't picked up enough steam yet, but we don't quit on that one. We're always available.
Pardon the pun, right?
Part of the fun.
Yeah.
I meant, I wasn't referring to uneducated parents.
I knew exactly what you were saying. And I'm saying that was more than okay to say it that way, because I know what you were trying to say. And I just wanted to bring the context to it that those same parents that didn't have that opportunity are still invested. And those are some of the people that show up at the APAC meetings. And the APAC meetings are the African American Advisory Boards. And those are powerful because they advocate for our children. And sometimes the parents will say, you know, I didn't have this, but I want my child to have it. We just don't see enough of that, Greg. That's the problem. We don't see enough advocacy for our children, not because they don't want it. Sometimes we don't even know where to go. You know, that's another gatekeeping system. Until I got into education, I've apologized to my kids. I said, y'all could have had this and this and this. Gatekeeping systems. Do you think we get that memo? When the pandemic hit, all the shelves were gone. In the Black communities, I was still finding products. What do you think that's all about? It's a system. The word was out well before. Those shelves weren't cleaned by African Americans. I'm not kidding. The day that it broke out, the pandemic was announced. It was on March 11th. I hit those stores in my areas, shelves were empty. But they said, go closer to Watts and go closer to Compton. You guys challenge me if I'm lying on that, if anybody else experienced it. And I was able to get products because that message went out through the system to people, ears that don't hear it. We don't get that stuff, Greg. We don't get those opportunities. We don't get those resources unless we're in education and have those backdoor systems that we can bring our kids to. It's an underground road.
I beg to differ with you to some degree. When the UC program, I have a question from Ardina that I want to get to. When the UC system set up their early academic outreach program, and it was for low to moderate students, and I contacted them and I told them I have an AP honor student who's a leadership, he loves the Lord, articulate and what have you. I would like for him to be included in the program so that he could actually see all of the UC campuses as well and bring a different mix of student to the environment. And I think what tends to happen is, one, people always ask, well, Robin, how did you find out? Read these community papers that are thrown out. Read the community paper, because at the end of the day, these organizations do have to post information that's available, right? And so what happens is we tend to sit back. If we can do Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, put some of that energy towards your children, put some of that energy towards your growth, put some of that energy towards, beating down the barriers that are there. Barriers have been there since 1619. But at the end of the day, Black folks have been able to make it happen. Somewhere along the line, we lost a couple of generations of folks who had who were willing to do what you're doing, advocating. So let me ask this question. As grandparents, how do we help our grandchildren in the area of math? Also, I have a grandchild who's been diagnosed with audio processing, and she's very gifted in math and arts. But how do I know she's really excelling in school, especially when we speak about the system?
Great question.
So what tools as a grandparent? You talked about the African American, this advocacy group. And you talked about your parent program that hasn't really accelerated. I think that you're doing an excellent job working with these students, but if we're not helping the parents with the resources and tools that they need, then we're kind of we're kind of shortchanging our system, let me put it that way.
God, that's such a meaty statement and so valuable. First of all, advocacy starts with that parent that just wants to go up and inquire, especially on the special ed programs. You have to go up and you have to find out who the site counselors are. What are their processes and systems? Who is there to help your specific child? And then ask for a meeting with that particular person. Most of the time they're underfunded and under-resourced. They don't have very many options. So then there's advocacy groups, even at a legal level, There are proponents who will fight. I don't have all of those names. I wasn't prepared for that today. But again, it takes a village. And Robin, I'm going to push back and say that where resources and income and education is limited, you're right. They do find ways to get on social media, hit the basketball courts, and do some of the things that are stereotypically described in our communities. But oftentimes when you're struggling to find to make $1 out of 50 cents, you're not necessarily thinking in the right vein. They didn't come from parents, and I know who you are. So I know that you know the value of education because you have a legacy of that. But in some of these areas, and I'm not saying that, you know, you always put yourself in everybody's shoes, but I would beg to differ that sometimes they wake up just trying to figure out how to eat. And they don't always think for what resources are right in the backyard or how do I go do this, because they just don't know. And yeah, but they do know how to turn on that button to social media. I do agree with you, and that is a challenge. But I would say go up, make a meeting. You are the advocates, and grandparents raise a lot of these kids, and they have the same ability to go up and call those meetings and then join these African-American. Almost every school has an advisory board that's comprised of African-Americans. Get on those advisory boards. Those are parents, those are grandparents, and in some cases, great grandparents that are helping their children. That's an advocacy group that speaks to the board, they speak to the district, and they have mood change. We got hired in Richmond because of that advocacy. And they made the board, they persuaded them to say, there's not enough inclusion, there's not enough support for African-Americans, and they hired Stimulate Learning. I know it was such a meaty thing, but I think that when your mind is shut down or, you know, you're suffering from any mental illness, addictions, I just often think that that's not the first thing that they think about. They think about survival. And so I apologize if I know this is a real lengthy, meaty thing, and it's not in every home. And yes, there are opportunities, Robin, for people to look at their community briefings, look at the things that are going on in your neighborhoods. I do agree with you.
Fantastic. Amini has a statement. She's an engineer, so obviously math is her thing. So Amini, can you?
Come on, STEM chick.
A successful engineer.
I love my STEM chicks. Keep doing great things.
Oh, thank you so much. So when I chimed in, I'm chiming in now. When I logged in onto this meeting, when I saw STEM, I saw math, my blood level just rose. And I said, this, math has always been my passion. STEM is my passion, science, math. I'm an engineer. I'm a civil and environmental engineer, and I have an engineering and construction management company. The reason why I wanted to chime in on this is because I'm also part of board of directors. I'm not sure if you've heard of, I want to give you this information, please. Sister.
I'm writing, hold on.
I'm part of the board of director for ACE Mentor Program. If you've never heard of it, please take advantage of this and please share this information with
ACE Mentor Program?
ACE, Architecture, Construction, and Engineering. ACE Mentor Program, this is a high school program that mentors high school kids towards these, being an architect, engineer, or in the construction field. We have, after school programs, we have teachers that are involved with these programs. And right now we are recruiting African-American, and we want to be more diverse. We're recruiting a lot more diverse kids. So right now we're, diversifying our students, right? And I would love to see more African-American students involved with this program. We have scholarships. We've given over $72,000 scholarships. On top of that, my company, O2 Engineering Projects and Construction Management, we're giving out scholarships to African-American students. And I am specific about this. I specifically told them I want to give it out to African-American students who are interested in studying architecture, engineering, and construction management. Also, I'm also part of the board of directors for Construction Management Association of America. We also give out scholarships. There's so many resources out there for our people. It's just a matter of finding the right resources. There's money out there. It's a win-win situation for everyone. O2 EPCM is also giving out scholarship through not only the ACE program, but also through CMAA program to an African-American student in the college and in the high school arena that are going towards this, industry that we're in. Speaking of, construction management, engineering, and being an architect. Not only that, we also have National Society of Black Engineers, NSB.
I love your energy.
And
I love your passion.
Thank you. I'm very passionate about this. NSB, we have Junior NSB. Please write this down. Junior.
I wrote everything. I wanted to actually, if you could chat for me in the chat box, I want your contact info.
Listen, my contact info is on the screen right now.
Are the classes virtual? Are they in person?
These are right now, they're virtual. These are programs, actual part of my team. We're going to be presenting our end of the year project. I mean, these students are doing phenomenal things. We literally, in the beginning of the program this semester, what we gave to them, we literally gave to them dirt, and we say, we want you to develop a project. Guess what? We just finished a project. It will be presented to several different companies that are in the architectural, engineering, construction arena, and they'll see what these high school kids have put together. Guess what? I mean, I can go on and on about this, but
right. And I do, and I'm just going to do another shameless plug that I believe is important, because not every child is going to go to college. And I'm going to be getting in touch with you, Ms. Livingston. Yes, what you're doing is phenomenal, but I have JTM Academy on the phone too. And I want to say this because it's important for those that are beyond the high school levels. JTM Academy is a nonprofit company that are getting people employed in the utility space doing the math. Amari is the CEO who's on the call today, and I have to plug this because I'm so excited about what he's doing and getting people that have felony-friendly convictions. And he really works with our demographic of minority people that have had challenges, that are turning their lives around and giving them the skills from Miss Mitchell's uncle, who founded the company many, many years ago. And he's really taken that on and ran with it. And when I say he's on fire, so not only do we have Miss Livingston's opportunities, we have JTM Academy, and a lot of those positions are almost starting at $80,000. And we don't have inclusion in the utility space. And y'all already know that because some of my sisters are on the phone. So this company is also another option for you to think about as you think about your sphere of influence, Robin. And as we say, each one reach one, and it takes a village and a community. Share that resource, share JTM Academy, pull them up, call them up. Miss Livingston just gave us tons of solutions for high school kids to engage them and provide them with engineering opportunities and other technology. Get them out there. This is two phenomenal resources right here. And I get hired by district, so I can't necessarily say, come on into my district, or you know, I bring a village.
Very quickly, when you engage students and you make math fun and you make it interesting.
Come on.
They will pick on, look, I've been involved in the math program since I don't even know how long, since I was like yay high. So it was very interesting to me. It was fun to me. And these programs make it fun. They have projects for them to engage.
Keyword.
And we can do this, y'all.
I will be in your classroom any day, Miss Livingston, because when I close deals and I say, how did I get so lucky? That's my favorite thing. Like, how did they hire me? Sometimes I wonder, right? And you know what they always say, and I hear it in you? They hire me because of my passion. And every job I've ever had, it's been purposeful. I tell people that you will eat if you do something that's beyond yourself, beyond you, and you're passionate about it. You'll never starve because you're giving your life's blood to something. You're not chasing a dollar, you're chasing purpose. And you embody everything that you're saying. And thank you so much for that. I wrote down stuff and I will be spreading that to my communities immediately. And just remember JTM Academy too, guys, for those that have had some minor setbacks in life that want to get back up. And he's placed people that are over 50, 60 years old. And they have a 90% passing rate. They prepare you for the exams at the utilities and get you introduced to them. So there's options out there, and thank you. And Robin, thank you for asking that question to get us here.
Amini, if you would put your information in the chat so when people download it, they'll have it there. I know you have it on screen.
Amari, please too, as well.
And
JTM.
I will make sure that it's in the YouTube session. Amini, thank you so much. We're gonna have to have you on. I need to have you on the business zone.
You have
and
to.
For you and Denise and any other
Let's
math
go.
people
Let's
here,
go, Miss Livingston.
I need you guys. I got 50 kids coming into a biz camp this summer. Is a virtual camp. I need you guys to come in and talk to our kids and be mentors, because math is a big part of being an entrepreneur when they're developing out their financial pieces. So I will be reaching out to both of you for that.
I'm in.
And I am just so excited. And so you're absolutely right. Each one teaches one. Part of my professional life, I have always given back to kids. I will tell you, if you guys have not incorporated that in your business life, it is the most fulfilling thing that I do, is working with kids. I will do it without pay.
Same here.
It's so important that we're involved with our kids. Amini, I need to know about those programs, and we want to thank you so much, Denise. And Denise, I'd like to talk to you because I think that there should be an academy both for math, and I think there should be an entrepreneur academy, and it should start at the age of 3. And we work our kids up until they get to be teenagers. And at that point, they are focused on where they want to go. For those of you who are interested in Amari's program, you can go to the Los Angeles Urban League website and sign up if you have any adults that are looking to get into the construction agents industry. Amari does that program over at the Urban League as well. And he can put that chat information in the chat room and they have ongoing classes. I sit on their board as well. I am all about us making sure that our communities thrive. And the only way we can do that is for us to get in, get our hands dirty and make it happen. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Emma because she has an update. And I also want to tell you, if you're trying to get the PPP loan, PCR, which is Colette Moore, our correspondent, couldn't be here today, but tomorrow is the deadline for the PPP loans for PCR, and they are CDFI. And so, Emma, are you still there, or did you leave us? Did Emma leave us?
She was just here a second ago.
Well, she's going.
She might have had to leave.
Okay, so if you want to do that, you want to make sure you hurry up and get that information if you've been procrastinating. As Colette has been saying, no procrastination, folks. We cannot continue to procrastinate. We have to get on stuff right now, right in the moment, because it will go by. And as Denise says, there's an underground railroad that other people have, but we were the one that started the underground railroad, and we need to make sure that you are listening to every toot and tweet, because there's some information that is being talked about that we get wrapped up in other stuff and we don't hear it. And that's really
we don't get the memo.
We don't get the memo. And that is the sole purpose of this platform, is to make sure that you get the message on what the menu is that they're having a discussion about, because more than likely, if it's on the menu, you are the one that they're talking about. And so if you're not there at the table, then you're the one that they're talking about.
And to Robin's point, when you do get the memo, read it.
You read it and read the memo. So it's been awesome. And I guess this is a conversation that we need to have. It's so important because our children are our future, and we truly have to be the ones that are campaigning and rah-rahing for our kids. We can't blame the system. If we're not involved, we certainly can't blame the system. We have to be, and I have friends that are teachers, and one of the biggest issues they have is that no one ever shows up for the parent meetings and the parent-teacher meetings. No one is making any noises. My mother taught me when I was a kid, if you make the biggest noise, and I lived in my guidance counselor's office. In my yearbook, it said, I have never worked so hard for my salary in this year and a half that you have been at this school, because you are in here every single day complaining about something, but I got an education. And that
And
was
you
how
also
I got
had
it.
mentors from your family that really inspired that voice,
Right.
which is
So
beautiful.
we have to be that one. I want to thank you, Denise. You have been absolutely awesome. And we have to continue
Nice.
this
Thank
conversation.
you.
Our guest next week, Stephen, do you want to pop off for a second and tell us who our guest next week is? And you guys got to come back. Go tell
Thank you for
everybody.
having me.
You are welcome.
Next week is Chamberlain DeRue from Los Angeles World Airports. So stay tuned on the 27th. We're not talking about millions, we're talking about billions of dollars in contract opportunities.
All righty. This is just such a great platform, don't you guys think?
Thank you.
You guys did such a great interview. Boy, I had to bring my A game today.
So
I like
go out.
to do this.
Guys, this show is on also streaming live on Facebook. So share it with your friends and your people on your Facebook. Let's use social media that really helps us as a people, and not just what we ate yesterday, but let's just share the good stuff and the informative stuff that will keep us on point so that we can thrive. We got to come out of this pandemic thriving, not just surviving. This is our window of opportunity, and it literally is this big.
The saying is, let's go. Let's go.
Right. So Black folks right now is on the menu for a hot minute. So make sure
take advantage of it.
Yeah, we the chocolate flavor of the month. So let's make sure that we take advantage of being the chocolate favorite of the month. I want to thank you guys. Have a fantastic day. Remember, we are still in a pandemic, so mask up. Forget what the CDC said. Keep your mask on, keep washing your hands, and keep social distancing. You have to protect yourself, you have to protect your loved ones, and you have to protect your community. So we ain't hearing all of that. We are not out of a pandemic.
That's right. Thank you. You guys
have
a blessed day. Thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate this.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you next Thursday at 11 a.m. And we'll have another great conversation.
Y'all come back now. Here.
Y'all come back. And if you want to save the chat, hit the 3 buttons and you can save the chat onto your computer.
How do you do that?
It's right there where it says the 3 little buttons next to your name at the bottom in the chat. Click those 3 buttons. It says save the chat.
3 dots.
3 dots. I'm sorry.
Right next to file.
Next to file.
Next to file.
All righty, guys. So
all right.
See you guys next week. Have a great one.
Take care, everybody.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.